What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 42 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast on this Tuesday, January 21st, 2024. I'm your host, Zach Malamud. Hope everyone had a great holiday yesterday. Before we get started, please subscribe below. Follow all of my social accounts. Let's start things off once again in the NBA as the New York Knicks are in action tonight. Before we get to the Knicks game tonight, taking on the Brooklyn Nets across the river in Brooklyn, let's talk about yesterday's game as the New York Knicks took on the Atlanta Hawks on Martin Luther King Day. And then when you look at the Knicks overall in this game, they came back. They were down at halftime. It looked like the Hawks would get the better of this Knicks team once again, obviously knocking them out of the NBA Cup earlier this season. But the Knicks built the comeback in the second half, win this one 119-110. Hawks fall to 22-20, and the Knicks move to 28-16 on the year. And even with this bad stretch, the Knicks, after that three-game losing streak that they had, have actually won 4 of their last 7. Over 500 in the last 7 games. Positive signs, you would say, especially due to the injuries that the Knicks have had. And it wasn't a great day for Karl-Anthony Towns. However, he did do a lot of great things on the court when it came to just off the ball. And really, when he was not scoring, he was doing the right things in the end. Finished the game 5 of 18 shooting. Haven't seen that too much from Cat this season. 1 of 6 from 3. But really, other than that, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and that's really the story of the game for Cat, where, I mean, he was the leader in assists for the Knicks in this one, and Jalen Brunson took the reins when it came to the scoring, followed by Mikal Bridges. Brunson, 12 of 18 shooting, 3 of 5 from deep, 34.6 assists, as well as Bridges, who was 12 of 17 from the field and had 26 points for the New York Knicks in this one. Overall, great win for the New York Knicks, one that they probably needed for their confidence. Cannot continue to lose those small little games to those teams that they should probably beat on paper. The Atlanta Hawks, even though it's been a tough stretch against Atlanta for the Knicks, is one of those teams that you would think on paper the Knicks should handle business easily against Atlanta. Figured things out in the second half, and credit to the Knicks for getting the W in the end. Let's move things to tonight, where a 7:30 start at Barclays Center. The Knicks take on their crosstown rival, the Brooklyn Nets, who are struggling mightily so far this season. 14-29 after a pretty hot start, and Brooklyn was in a playoff spot earlier this season where they were on a roll. Then they traded some guys, got some pieces in exchange for them. Dennis Schroeder was one of the names of a guy who was moved. Cam Johnson looks like he might be moved as well pretty soon. Obviously, a lot of noise coming in on that, and the trade deadline coming up in the NBA. We'll keep track of that. Could be a good move for the Nets to really get some pieces in for a guy like Cam Johnson, but it's been a struggle definitely for the Brooklyn Nets, and they have lost 7 straight on their home floor. And the Knicks, like I said, 28-16 on the year. They come in as 12.5-point favorites tonight, total sitting at 219.5. One of those games, once again, that the New York Knicks should handle business, should really blow the Brooklyn Nets out of the arena in this one. But you never know, as Brooklyn could come up with a fight here, and obviously the rivalry between these two teams, the crosstown rivals. The Knicks, though, on paper, should really handle business here. It is a big game for one man in Mikal Bridges. I expect him to be the star man tonight for the New York Knicks. Obviously, his return to Brooklyn and trying to prove a bit of a point here, I'm sure. Obviously, the season that he had last year, and I'm sure he's got a lot of love for a lot of the people in Brooklyn, but I think he should probably handle business tonight, and he's been on a good stretch right now for the New York Knicks. So we'll see what happens. I expect a big night for Mikal Bridges, though, in his return to the Barclays Center. 7:30 tonight. Tune in later as the Knicks, 12.5-point favorites, taking on the Brooklyn Nets. Switching gears, not too much noise out of the other teams in New York. Jets continue to look for a new head coach and a new general manager. Have gone to second interviews in terms of their head coach, but that's really about it in terms of all the noise right now for the New York Jets, and they continue to look for their guy, and we'll obviously keep track of that as the days go on here at MetLife Stadium. But when you look at the rest of the teams, Yankees, not too much noise. Mets, not too much noise besides that Pete Alonso story. Talked about that last week. Go check out my previous episode. But that's really it right now in terms of the baseball noise. And then the Mets really missing out on guys. Excuse me. It's more so that. And let's talk about some of those recent transactions in the MLB. A lot of noise right now, not confirmed just yet, but it looks like Kirby Yates, a closer or a reliever, whichever one the Dodgers want him to be, he most likely is going to end up in Los Angeles next to a lot of great pieces in that bullpen, and the Dodgers just continue to roll. Every time you look at your phone and look at a baseball signing, who else? The Los Angeles Dodgers. And last week on Friday, was talking about it earlier in the show, the race for Roki Sasaki. He then announces on Friday night that he has signed with, or he is signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers on a minor league deal. So the Dodgers get their guy once again, in the trio, the Japanese pitching trio of Sasaki, Yamamoto, and Ohtani will be present this season. When you look at the rest of the moves for the Dodgers, I just talked about Yates most likely going there. They pick up Tanner Scott as well, arguably the best relief pitcher on the market, and he signs a 4-year, $72 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers, who seem like they're going to be heading way over the luxury tax, but they don't really seem to care. They said, all right, well, championship or bust for us as well. And with a roster like they have, they could pay that money pretty easily when it comes to the luxury tax and all of those contracts that they have guys signing. The last signing as well, not from the Dodgers, but for the Toronto Blue Jays, who added outfielder Anthony Santander on a 5-year contract worth $92.5 million. And I think when you look at Santander, he was a guy that, as a Yankees fan myself, I was trying to really hope that the Yankees would avoid him. Thank God they did. Really a guy who, yes, can hit home runs and can hit the long ball, but I'm really prioritizing the strikeouts, which Santander just continues to rack up year after year after year. So that's really a bad sign, I would say, for a hitter like Santander. Got to cut out those strikeouts, and something that the Blue Jays would hopefully want to fix. But that's really my one worry about a guy like Anthony Santander. So I'm kind of grateful that the Yankees did not go after him. As for the Mets, a guy that they could have gone after as well was Santander with his lefty bat at Citi Field, but they also are looking at the strikeout numbers and saying, yeah, that's probably not a guy that we're really too interested in right now, and really more of a Yankee typical type of signing. And like I said, thank God that they did not pull the plug on a guy like Anthony Santander, and very happy with what the Yankees have done in the outfield so far, and got that trio in Bellinger as well as Dominguez and Aaron Judge. So should be a good one for the Yankees there. But Santander, they're going to have to see him once again in the division as he stays in the AL East and heads to the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Orioles again miss out on one of their guys, and another guy leaving the Orioles organization, where a team that made it to the playoffs last year and has some high aspirations, they're losing guys left and right. So they really need to pick up the pieces and figure things out for their roster, because it could be a bit of an off year for Baltimore as they continue to lose guys, like I said, left and right. So they still need to figure things out. But as for the Yankees and the Mets, still a couple moves to be made, you would think, by both. The Yankees still needing a third baseman, trying to still figure that out, whether it's a third baseman or a second baseman. But the Mets as well need to pick up the pieces after most likely losing out on a guy like Pete Alonso, who they just did not want to pay him. And I think that's really the fair move for Pete Alonso, to try and go elsewhere and look for some kind of money that's not disrespectful in his mind, like he thinks that the Mets would have offered him recently. So a lot of stories still to be written. So we'll see what happens. But the MLB free agency continues to roll on, and we'll keep track of it as the days go on. But let's finish things off today in college basketball once again, as another great slate of games on this Tuesday, January 21st, and tomorrow, Wednesday, January 22nd. We'll get an episode in tomorrow, so tune into tomorrow's episode to find out Wednesday's games and obviously a breakdown of the results from today's games. But as for today's games, some really good matchups in college basketball, specifically down in the SEC, who once again has a ranked game to show us for this Tuesday evening. 7 o'clock tonight, it's the number 14 ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs traveling to the Food City Center in Knoxville, Tennessee, to take on the 6th ranked Tennessee Volunteers, who have 2 losses in the last week or so and trying to figure stuff out, but they are back on their home floor and should really handle business here against Mississippi State. Tennessee, 8.5-point favorites, which is a bit high, but that's what Tennessee has done at home. They've been dominant in Knoxville this season, and could be a long day for Mississippi State. I'll take Tennessee to probably cover this game, most likely going to cover this game. It could end up being close. Mississippi State's kept some close ones recently against tough opponents, but in Knoxville, just a hard place to play, and you would think Tennessee would come out with the win here. Some other games, Purdue at home once again, taking on Ohio State at Mackey. Tough place to play. Should pretty much be Purdue throughout in this one and should handle business on their home floor. Last couple of games, Missouri going on the road. Tough test, taking on Texas, who's unranked but is favored in this one. 2.5-point favorites, and Missouri really on a great win streak right now and some big wins over some big name opponents and finally get a spot in the rankings. But now they get a tough test on the road in the SEC. Never easy, and they come in as road underdogs for that one. The last couple of games here, and one of them is a great ranked game, I would say. Number 25, Louisville, going on the road to take on a team that probably could be ranked if they had a couple of more high-profile wins in the SMU Mustangs. This one taking place at Moody Coliseum in Dallas, and SMU is favored on their home floor, 1.5-point favorites, but Louisville, do not count out this Louisville Cardinals team. They have been absolutely tremendous so far this year, 7-1 in ACC play, and they're going up against an SMU team that lost to both Duke and Carolina, and questions if Louisville can really give those teams a test, the Dukes and Carolinas in the ACC. Can they really test those teams and be maybe the second best team in this conference? Most likely Duke's going to be the top team in the ACC, but you never know. Louisville's been great so far this year, and as road underdogs, do not count out this Louisville Cardinals team, but it should be a great game. That one maybe a contender for best game of the night. SMU taking on number 25 Louisville at 9 o'clock. Last game I'll talk about, 9:30 start on Peacock. It's going to be the UCLA Bruins, who are unranked and 12-6 on the year, hosting the 18-ranked Wisconsin Badgers, who are 15-3 on the season, 5-2 in Big Ten play. But this one in a game where you think, well, UCLA struggling right now, trying to figure things out, and they're only 3-4 in Big Ten play. They are favored on their home floor against the Wisconsin teams that a Wisconsin team that's been rolling so far this season at Pauley. It could be a tough one for Wisconsin, though, as UCLA trying to bounce back. Still a very, very talented team in the Big Ten this year, but just haven't gotten things going in some games on the road, and now they come back home to take on Wisconsin. Expect maybe an upset here as UCLA comes in favored. I think Vegas knows something, probably favored for a reason here, as the Bruins take on the Badgers at 9:30 tonight. So a great slate of college basketball. We'll recap these games tomorrow. Obviously, there's a lot that we didn't get to, whether it's Alabama taking on Vanderbilt, Iowa State taking on UCF, or West Virginia taking on Arizona State. Great games and a great slate ahead. So make sure you tune into all the games in the college basketball world coming up later tonight. We will do it all again tomorrow with our normal Wednesday episode. But that'll do it for episode 42 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast. Please subscribe below. I've been Zach Malamuth. Thanks for watching and talk to you all tomorrow.